Life isn't perfect, and neither are we.
Nope. But we know how to face our fears
And have some fun.
and talk about all the messiest things of life.
Like the messiest things.
Get connected to yourself, get connected to others, and get connected to the life right in front of you.
This is The Connected Life with Justin and Abby.
That's me.
That's you.
And you. Wait, are you pointing at me to start this thing?
You just started it. It just happened right there.
I did not know that was happening. I thought you had a story that you were going to jump in on.
I will jump in on a story. I was just like letting you kind of warm the audience up for
hey
it.
there, audience. Warm. You warmed up?
So we just got our friends here with us today. You'll hear them laughing in the background as we start this up. But we just got back from Nevada City, and Abby was getting some treatments. I was too, while we were down there. And in the process, I get back and I find out a friend of mine calls me and goes, "Dude, you were in Nevada City. My wife's from Nevada City." I'm like, "Oh yeah, really?" You know, and he's just so stoked about it. He's like, "Do you know that there's a special clause in that city where you can walk around buck naked?" And I was like, I'm so sad. I missed out on the opportunity. And so I'm really excited to go back to Nevada City.
Oh my gosh. No. Wait. It's so close. I'm like, you will see 1 million people you know there.
From Reading. I feel like I will, but why how can I not go back to Nevada City and strut around buck naked legally? I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to buy some tea, buck naked.
I'm going to buy some tea. What a funny picture.
I'm going to do aerobics in the park.
It's funny to picture, but it does make you think, don't take your kids on vacation there.
No, not at all. This is a strange city in the best of ways.
It's
people
delightful.
watching was amazing.
Oh, 100%.
I literally got transported back to the 60s.
I loved it because it was like almost every man there looked like Aladdin.
Right. They had
they
handmade
were
baggy
wearing
pants.
Aladdin pants and Aladdin vests. I'm not saying like they looked like them physically. I'm just saying the clothing.
Yeah, because they're all hippies.
It's like a hippie look.
I
loved it. It was so fun.
My buddy said his wife was on the phone. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I made all my own clothes. It was hysterical. I didn't bathe for months."
It was like
I was like, "It's Abby. It's a perfect city."
I know. I'll never be a sewer.
I'm learning too much about you guys right now. Justin went to walk around naked, and Abby doesn't bathe for months. Apparently, I don't know.
No,
are you disappointed, John, that I'm not here naked?
No. I heard about stories about you being naked. One of my friends was like, "Yeah, I went over to Abi and Justin's house, and Justin was just naked." And I'm like, "What? Oh God!"
I don't know who the friend was. I don't know what the context was, but I'm sure people are like, "Oh my God,
Well, it's in your own house. You're allowed to be.
Yeah, well, it's everyone's fault if they walk into my house and see me naked. That's their fault.
That's true.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, we're super excited about our guest today.
Yeah. So,
you had said you wanted to start, but I can start.
I mean, I can start. So, John is black. And he represents all black people in this episode.
Oh, Lord. Y'all
Justin,
pray.
that is a horrible introduction. That is so bad. That was not the introduction you had told me that you had.
That was my joke introduction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So John has been such a gift to me in one singular moment, was a profound gift to me. And I actually want to talk about that. So John, a while back, I went up and approached John. I began to have a short dialogue about my journey in wanting to actually have dialogues around race and not knowing how to do that as a white guy, as far as just feeling really scared. And I shared some of my emotions and stuff like that. And one of the things that I noticed is that you were so kind and tender and compassionate in the space of wanting to have that dialogue. And I felt such relief because I was like, I can actually talk a moment here with John and feel embraced in this. And you began to open up about part of the subject in the dialogue where it left me changed forever.
Wow, bro.
And I have ever since that moment, it changed the way that I approached these dialogues and the way that I approached, this type of conversation, this subject. So I just want to start by saying thank you. And I have never told you that.
That was a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah, it was a couple of years
At
ago
least
for sure.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that night. It was the first ever Black History Month program at our church.
Yeah.
And it was a wild night. And I remember seeing you guys on the front row and being like, oh, Abi and Justin are here. That's cool. Just doing our thing. And then you grabbed me afterwards. And I was like, dang, okay, cool. All right, here we are.
Let's do it.
Let's go for it. Yeah, I mean, you never know who's on to engage with you in the conversation and what even their heart posture is when they start the conversation with you. You know, obviously I am a Black man. My Blackness speaks for me. I can't hide. This doesn't come off at night, contrary to popular belief. But for many people, they have this conversation that's very antagonistic and it's affirmative action, all these things, and you're like, bro, I didn't do that. Like I'm just me. Like I am gifted and cursed and but I call it a gift with this black skin.
Yeah.
And I have a master's PhD in blackness because I'm a Black man who's 32 years old. So if you want to talk about Black people, I can talk to you about Black people.
Yeah.
The political conversation feels very foreign to me because I don't get it. I'm not very politically driven, but I know politics and race have ran side by side with each other for a lot of time because we had to get the legislation done politically. Dr. King had to go and get the Civil Rights Bill done, had to get the Voters Act bill done. So these things became political, but they're not political.
In nature.
Because they are about relationships.
Yeah.
And how do we actually relate to each other? And how do we actually love each other well?
Come on.
So, that's a cool moment, Justin. Thanks for telling me that, bro.
Yeah, I feel even emotional about it right now. Like I can feel a lot of my emotions about it. I have so much gratitude for who you are. And again, I could just keep repeating myself because I feel it so much.
Bro.
I think that when you talked about the idea of love, obviously Abi and I's heart is love, and like, what does love look like, and what does love look like around this conversation? And there's a world out there that's on fire in social
literally
on
fire. Lord.
And we keep asking the question, like, how do we be part of building bridges instead of barriers? How do we be part of bringing restoration and redemption, healing? Where is the opportunity for revival in relationships, revival and healing in all of this? And so we don't know what that looks like. We're in exploration mode ourselves inside of it. And so we're just going, all right, so what's the next step? Each day is really a conversation, right? What's the next step? There's no plan inside of us. It's just, how can we steward love better each day?
Yeah.
That's real.
So we brought you on because we knew you'd be a great person to breathe into this conversation that's happening in the world right now.
Yeah.
So I thought, why don't we start with a little bit of your story, your history?
Yeah.
And we'll start there.
My name is Jonathan Miller, at Big Jon Miller on Instagram. I need some followers. Just playing.
That's great.
I'm originally from a little town in Southern California called Redlands, next to Loma Linda Hospital. I always tell people this is like the story of my life starts before my actually coming to this earth, my actually being born. My mother heard God's voice in Cerritos Mall, and she was told to have a son.
Wow.
She was told to have a child, even though the doctors told her not to.
Wow.
She had a heart problem, and she was not supposed to conceive another child. She died 3 times having my brother.
Oh
What?
my gosh.
Yeah. So that's kind of the story of my life. Is that the God, the the fact that God wanted me to be here. So I have a tattoo that says Miracle Child, because it's like, it's the story of God's voice birthing me. Yeah, and like God's word being a lamp into my feet, a light into my path. So, grew up in Little Redlands, California. When I was 14 years old, I found out that I had a heart problem, similar to my mom.
Wow.
Who had a heart problem, and I had to stop playing sports. I was a big kid. Obviously, you guys don't see me on podcast land, but I'm a tall.
How
big,
tall are you?
I'm like 6'1", 6'2".
You are only 6'1", 6'2". In my head, you're like 6'5".
Hey man, I receive it. I'll take the extra height.
Inches. Yeah.
Grow me. But yeah, I'm over 300 pounds. I'm a big guy. Play football, play basketball growing up, and it all ended one day.
Oh man.
So a little demographics, because I think it's relevant to this conversation. In Loma Linda, Redlands, California, very diverse city. We had a hospital that brought a lot of people in. So I grew up across the street from an Indian family. I grew up, my neighbors are across the street were like our next door neighbors. Were biracial. And they had like 5 or 6 kids. And the wife worked at the hospital. Obviously, my parents were both black. I'm black on both sides. Hallelujah. I'm grateful for my heritage and my upbringing. We just grew up around a lot of diversity. Most of my friends were Asian, were white, were black, were Latinos. And then 16 years old, I moved to Las Vegas.
Okay.
And Las Vegas, another very vibrant, diverse, crazy city.
Yeah.
Big city.
Yeah.
Loma Linda and Redlands, very small town. Las Vegas, over 1 million people, which obviously has a ton of tourists all the time. Actually, UNLV just got announced they decided that UNLV was the most diverse school, college in the nation.
Wow.
So that kind of just gives you a picture of the city, that's very diverse, very international. So I grew up around a bunch of different races.
Yeah.
I would never say that I was with one group of people majority of the time or with another group of people the other time. Obviously, my family's black. And my mom raised me because my dad and my mom divorced when I was 14. So I definitely grew up around black people because that's my family.
Right.
But my friend circles, all colors of the rainbow, all of it. I love all of it. So even I just got married a year ago to a beautiful young woman named Ecclesia, which is so prophetic and delightful.
What does that, because of her name meaning?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
It means church. It's like I know you guys know that we're all Christians here. But I will build my church upon this rock. That word church is ecclesia.
Oh.
My wife's name is Ecclesia, which is a whole nother conversation, a whole nother story that y'all gotta talk to her about. Why her name's Ecclesia, not ecclesia. But either way, she so like my wedding, my groomsmen, I have a Mexican American guy, I have an African American guy, my brother, I have 2 Filipino American guys, and I have a white woman. So that just kind of break every rule.
I love it, John.
Break every rule. So that tells you a little bit about me and how I deal with race.
Yes.
So I'm good with all of it.
Yeah.
Love all of it. So yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened to you in the Charleston?
Charleston.
This is a dyslexic shooting that happened. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience for you?
Oh God.
Yeah. So for those of you who need reference, the Charleston shooting was a mass shooting at the church, at the Emmanuel Church there, which is historically one of the oldest.
Oh, it's not that one. Even though that was traumatic too. But it was Charleston, the one in Virginia. Charlottesville.
Charlottesville.
Oh, Charlottesville.
Is this not sad though? That what we just had to say was,
I know, oh my God, Jesus.
Was not that one, a different one.
Yeah, completely different one, right?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a whole,
because that's a whole different
oh
one.
my God, yeah. You think, isn't it crazy, like the legacy of your life is a hashtag?
Yeah.
Like, how terrible is that, man? Like, how sad is that? Like, that's, man, it's sad that, I mean, not to make this about you guys. Obviously, when I say white people, I don't mean just Abi and Justin. I mean white people in general, in the broader majority context. It takes black bodies for white people to wake up into this conversation. Right. Like, that's sad. Like what is it on that? Like, thank God for George Floyd and all the stuff that's happening right now, but it took his death to actually revive and wake up people. Like you were talking about revival. To revive people to the consciousness of Black life and to awaken the consciousness of police brutality, and that's a mighty high price to pay for justice. Yeah, and we don't even know if he's gonna get, if everything's gonna go the right way, illegally, So, God, like, a life for awakening. Yeah. That's not the rates that we want. That's not the exchange rate we want at all. Yeah. But yeah, with Charlottesville, Virginia, I feel like we got to Google that just to make sure I'm saying it right. But I think it's Charlottesville. Basically, for context, for people who don't know, alt-right, I wouldn't even say alt-right, white nationalists, walking around with tiki torches around a statue in Virginia College. It's like big publicized on the internet, big thing. And many civil rights leaders, many black leaders came up against the counter protest, their protest of wanting to keep a statue of, I believe it was Robert E. Lee, or at least it was a Confederate soldier. Yeah. And our Confederate general. I'm here in Redding, California, very, very far from Virginia. Yeah. Right. As a black person in America, I've never seen a KKK hood, never seen a burning cross. I've actually, to be honest with you, I've had pretty decent conversations with police when I've been pulled over. But somehow I'm trapped in my house for days in trauma. And after it happened, I'm sitting there. I couldn't even get off my couch. I'm watching CNN. I'm watching the news. I'm flipping channels, and I'm like, oh God, like, this is happening in my nation. And then the sister, she dies because the guy rams the car into a crowd. Yeah. And just that picture just of the body flying in the air, I can see it now in my mind's eye. And I'm sitting in my house and I couldn't move, guys. I couldn't move. We have a grocery store that's literally, 2 blocks away from where I lived at the time. I remember I didn't have to work, so it was good. I had like 2-3 days off. It took work for me to get to the store. Wow. Like, I was gripped with pain. And like I said, I'm a large, very physically capable black man. Yeah. Totally. Like and you do security. And I do security. Yeah. Like you're not scared. Security. No, I'm not scared, and I'm not, and especially in Redding, this isn't like a scary place. No. So I am trapped in trauma brain. Trapped in. Wow. No tools to get out, because we don't get tools like that. You gotta go seek those tools out. Yeah. So I'm sitting here and I'm in just arrested, essentially, in my own home. What did it feel like? Was it fear? Was it panic? Was it anger? Was it or was it just like frozen on the inside? All of the above. It was for me, a big trigger is powerlessness.
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah. So it's that feeling of as much training as I have to de-escalate, as much training as I can handle physically, right, I will be powerless to a moment, and I don't want to put myself in that situation. So know what, I won't eat. So know what, I'll sit in my house, and know what, I'll veg out. At that time I was self-medicating. Yeah. So it's like, you just like, like that's the thing. Like when you see, especially white people, to see people of color freaking out on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, understand that those people are in deep emotional pain.
Yeah.
And when people want to present facts and statistics and videos of Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk or whatever the guy's name is, or something from Tucker Carlson, you know, I'm not on a cuss, but like, I don't give a F about that right now.
Right.
I'm in pain.
Right.
I'm in pain. Know what you need to do for me as a brother? Come over and sit at my bed and be like, bro, I don't know what's happening, but I'm here for you.
Yeah.
That actually heals me.
Right.
Not a statistic about, police shoot more white people than they do black people. Get out of my face, man. Like,
Totally.
don't come here with that. Like, leave me alone. Don't send me a video from Fox News.
Yeah.
Totally.
Come and be a family member.
Yeah.
And sit at my foot in my bed and make sure I sleep. Make sure I get food in my mouth. Make sure I'm taking care of myself. So, you know, I see it all the time on Instagram and Facebook. People want to insert things into the conversation. Yeah, it's like you counted a privilege that you got to see this, that you got to see their pain, that they're actually vulnerable enough to actually express it online.
Yeah.
You got a window into a soul.
Yeah.
That's an honor.
Come on, John.
That's literally an honor. And for you to in the middle of their trauma and their pain, you know, it's like hopping on one of you guys' couches while somebody's dropping off something about their abuse, and then somebody says, let me
give you some statistics about abuse.
Yeah, let me give you some statistics about abuse and who could show up, and it's like, shut up. Like, this person's in pain.
Yeah.
Come on, my man.
But we won't do that for that.
Yeah.
But we will do it to hurting black people and brown people in this country. And that's a shame. That's a real shame.
And I think that actually what happens, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I think what happens is I don't think people recognize that it's pain.
No.
I don't think that they catch that. And that's why we're having this conversation, to help people pay attention, because the truth is, anybody who's gone through a trauma, you have so many different things happening chemically in your body. So trauma brain is a very real thing.
Yeah.
So there is, like, all of the blood flows to different parts of your body specifically to help you in trauma. And that's not a choice you make. So you have the blood in your brain will go, depending on the different way that you respond to trauma, it can go all to the emotional center that takes you into fight or flight. So you're just like, you're either, and you can see this sometimes after trauma, people go into fight mode where they want to get angry and intense. And part of that is because their body is telling them, I'm not safe. I need to protect myself. I need to make sure that I'm not going to get, like, in this scenario, that I don't get killed or I don't get run over or I don't. And then other people's goes into freeze, where the blood, like, goes completely out of the logic center. And what we talk about in, we teach about this, is that your brain, when you have emotion, you actually need to meet it with emotion in order for it to get out. So there's two sides of your brain, the logic side and the emotion side. And so what happens is, when we have an event that takes us to the emotion side, if I respond to you with statistics, that's logic. That doesn't ever help release being stuck in the emotional part of your brain. And so in order to help release, there has to be that exchange of emotion to emotion, which means I'm listening to you and I'm just going to have compassion and connect to what the emotions are. And we don't have to figure out talking about logic. That's not even what the conversation is.
Nope.
The conversation is, let's be present with you.
Yeah. That's
is my thought.
that's tremendous.
I want to add something. You know, I don't know anything about the trauma of the Black community. I know something about my trauma and trauma of abuse in my childhood. And I talked a little bit about this before, but if my parents had gone on a spiel years later after all the abuse of my childhood and been like, oh yeah, well, we're way better than we were, and why are you still talking about this? Like, and initially
maybe
there was,
they did do that.
Initially there was some of that, and I got more enraged. Because I felt more unseen, more unheard, and I'm like, no, some really effed up shit went on back here, and it's still affecting me, and you're not seeing it. And I'm like bleeding here, trying to have this conversation with you, and I knew my parents couldn't fix me, but man, when they could enter in and go, I want to hear Justin. I remember, sorry, we kind of connected to it. I remember the explosion with my mom one night when I'm like exploding about my pain. And for the first time, she walks over to me and she gets in front of me and she's like, Justin, I give you permission to yell and scream in my face at the top of your lungs like I did at you all the time as a kid. Oh my God. If that's what you need to get this out, you're right. I really did. There was a lot of abuse there. And I didn't need to yell and scream in her face. Like the minute she did that, I was like, I just needed to be heard. Like I just needed you to acknowledge the reality of the pain that's here. And that began a process that was very tangibly powerful for me to heal. Because I could feel she let down her guards trying to protect whatever shame she may have felt about our past. And she was just ready to be present with me as much as she knew how to. And so when I hear this and I'm like, yes, we as a global community, we have a family member that is in so much pain. And there's like, we may not know the right things to say. I didn't need my mom to figure out the right things to say. Her just being present, like, I love you. I'm really sorry. I'm here to listen. If you want to share with me, change something. And there's a gift in this season, in our in our this time dispensation. Us as a global community can begin to change history if we will posture ourselves right to entirely turn a ship of abuse and crazy neglect and everything else. We can be part of something historic if we'll engage in a loving manner.
That's real. Yeah, I mean, God, what you guys said, and that's why I messaged Abby. I was like, Abby, what you guys teach on shame and trauma and pain is so needed right now. Because if you look at it as humans and not as people blocks and all this sort of deal, you start to get it. It starts to make sense. Like you said, you don't know my pain. I don't know your pain, right?
Yeah.
But when you start to open up your life, I instantly am like, oh, wow. Like, that's crazy. Justin went through that. Like, I see a strong man today. I don't see a victim. I don't see a person in pain. And when you crack open your life and you talk about your experiences, I don't come at you and say that you're a victim.
Right. Exactly.
You're a victor.
Yeah.
Like you've overcome.
Yeah.
And just because you feel the emotion doesn't mean that you're trapped in it.
Yeah.
So when you see, people like rioting and protesting in the streets, man, this is generational trauma now.
Come on.
Not just a incident of a police being a dick to you.
Right.
Come on.
That's one moment. We could deal with that. Go to find people like Abi and Justin. I'm a life coach. You come to me. Like we can process that on a quick, 2-3 sessions. We're good. But like when you talk about generations, when it's not just you, it's your mom, it's your dad, it's your grandfather, it's your grandmother, it's your great grandfather, it's your great grandmother, and you keep going back as far as 1619 in this nation.
Ooh.
Of oppression, of dehumanization, of abuse, of trauma. How, like, and they see, oh, George Floyd wasn't racial. Maybe it wasn't, but it just triggered everything else that was racial.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Hello.
Absolutely.
Welcome to trauma. Welcome back to pain.
Yeah.
The trigger point, the flash point of bang, here I am. You don't think I'm anything. Yeah. That's why the term Black Lives Matter is not a political term. Even though, I know some of my right wing friends they'll talk about all this that, but I'm sorry, when I hear the term Black Lives Matter, it's the only organization on the planet that cares about my life.
Right.
And it's not it's not just my life. It's the potential of my kid's life. It's my wife's life. You know, we're talking about Breonna Taylor. You know, this sweet girl, she gets killed in her house by police. 96 days. We still haven't had a conviction at the time of this taping. Yes. 96 days. You can't even get a charge for the police officer. And I'm not saying that all police are bad, which I hate that we have to keep doing that, because we ain't talking about police today.
Sure.
We're talking about Black people.
Yeah.
And the trauma and pain that they're experiencing and how to connect with Black people. So put that aside. We love police. They're great people.
Sure.
They do an excellent job when they do an excellent job. When they do a bad job, they do a really bad job. Somebody doesn't go home, you know, and that's the sad part. That's the craziness of their life, of the life that they chose and the profession that they chose. But this sweet girl is in her home and she gets murdered. And imagine the family. Wait, like you get the call, like you just close your eyes, and if you're not driving, close your eyes and imagine your daughter is murdered. You're on the phone hearing that your daughter is murdered. And then you hear it's by police. And then her boyfriend goes to jail. He gets out. But there's no justice for your sweet girl.
Yeah.
Your daughter for over 96 days now. And then this is the crazy thing. Think about the father, the uncle, the cousin, the brother, the sister, whoever it is, right? You are so flipping mad at the police right now because they killed your daughter, your sister, whoever it was, that loved one in your life. And if you're in these major metropolitan cities, guess what? You walk outside the house, guess who you're going to see?
The people that killed your daughter, your sister, your wife.
What do you think that does to a psyche?
Yeah.
What do you think that does to human life? What do you think that does to a human brain? Man, that's incredible amounts of pain and just I don't even know what. Like I don't want to know what. I don't want to know all the chemical releases. But that's a trippy place to be, to see the person who murdered your sister and then walk out and see the same guy wearing the same suit, man. Like could you imagine how painful that is? And that's what most Black people are dealing with in these big urban centers.
Right. And also they have the title of authority.
Right.
It's not just, hey, this feels like some scumbag on the street attitude of like, no, this is supposed to be someone who protects me.
Right.
He or she represents authority, and authority feels really unsafe.
Yep.
And that's historical. There's so much history
when we get into the
police.
history of that conversation, police were not there to protect the Black people. They were actually there to oppress them.
Yeah.
There was so much oppression by police deliberately used to shut down the Black voice.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then there's I'm imagining the feeling is so much unsafety on the inside. Because I know, like, if I go to a country where I know the police are corrupt, it makes me feel a little bit more out of control. Because you're like, if I need help, like, oh, somebody could kidnap me and also the police could let them because they've been paid off. Like, that sense of, then where am I going to be okay?
Right.
You know, because we all grow up, our parents are the authority and they're supposed to protect us. So then as we go through life, like leaders or pastors or police, they all get put in, they're authorities in our lives. So now the natural human need is to have authorities be safe.
Yep, exactly.
And so to have a consistent experience that authorities aren't safe on your behalf, even if there are some really good ones, because we want and we can all agree, but that's not the conversation.
Right.
But there would be such fear in me.
Yeah.
If I knew that, like, me trying to have a voice could get run over legally.
Legally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legally.
And part of it is like we talk about the statistics. I'm not going into statistics, but there's this statistic conversation. I'm like, hold on a second. Let's just say your statistics are right over here. I need you to go sit down with them because we haven't had a conversation about the statistics of everything that happened to this community back here. And the whole community is going, we as a culture haven't inside of this home that is America had a healthy dialogue about how effing painful all of this was and what do we do with it? Because we just kind of moved forward and was like, great, we're good. Okay, we're good. We're moving forward, right? And so we haven't once sat down as a family, as a country, to sit down and have the dialogue. What did this do to your entire people group to have these experiences? We haven't given space for you to have a platform. We haven't used our power to put you on a platform to dialogue about the pain that exists inside of this space.
That right there, Justin, that's the root. That's the root. Mm-hmm. Imagine, this is a funny, to break up the intensity of this conversation. Last night, we'll go back to what Abby just said, because that was powerful. Obviously what Justin said was powerful as well.
What I said was better. You don't have to coddle his ego.
Don't sugarcoat it.
Hey, y'all are the married people. I'm
not getting it.
Nope, I'm not at all. But to okay, we'll go to Abby's point first. I'll just be vulnerable. Me and my wife, we're thinking about getting away this weekend. We're thinking about our birthdays come up in July, where we're trying to plan out trips because we want to just get out. And I proposed going to Idaho or Wyoming. Mm-hmm. And this is my wife, and this is honest, and this is what I would say too if she said the same thing to me. I was like, "There's no black people there. At least if the police show up and they kill us, like nobody will film it." Like that is literally where we're at in America with like that's that, and these are healthy people. Me and my wife, we both go to therapy.
Totally,
we are Christians.
You're working through
we're
your
working
stuff.
through our stuff. We have healthy community, healthy white community, which is so grateful for that situation and that people who aren't coming to us with facts, but still, we're like, oh my God, what do we do now? To the funny part. Think about this. Okay, last night, and like I said, I'm a big man. And me and my wife, we sleep in a queen bed.
Oh my gosh. So Cuddle City.
Cuddle City, which is great for my wife. The
Right.
9, the very much so peacemaker, harmony, loves cuddling. It's great. I love it. I'm a physical touch person, so it works out great for me. So my wife falls asleep about 9:30. I go to bed at about midnight. That's just our flow. At least 11:30, but last night was midnight. And so my wife's sleeping in the middle of the bed. In a queen bed, that doesn't leave me enough room. Okay, so I tell my wife, I'm like, hey, babe, hey, sweetie, can you just move over a little bit? And she kind of nudges a little bit. Obviously, that doesn't give me enough room. I'm like, hey, babe, second time, hey, can you move over, love?
Love you.
Love you. Yeah, just can you scoot over? And then by the 5th time I had to say it, my tone is completely different.
Yes.
My tone is like, hey, babe,
Move
Ecclesia,
over.
Move over. Like I need to lay down. Like, you know, and she's like, oh, why are you yelling at me? I'm asleep. And I'm like, you know, like obviously I'm in love. I'm in covenant with this woman forever, right?
Totally.
But imagine if that's your brother,
Yeah.
your white brother.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've been asking for justice,
Right.
for just equal standing, for equality on a legal basis, on a structural basis.
Over and over.
Over, generation after generation. This is the crazy thing. My dad was 30. He was 34 when Rodney King got beaten in LA.
Yeah.
I'm 32 and look what I'm seeing.
Oh, that's got to feel really repetitive.
Exactly.
And it, on some level, that's got to feel like, because I know there's all these people that are like, oh, people are waking up, blah, blah, blah. And then it's got to feel like maybe, like, and so sometimes some of the things that I've seen is that then you have probably white people that are like happy that they're like waking up to it, and black people who are like, it doesn't mean much now.
No.
And then white people are then like, ah! And so it creates this cycle.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is absolutely right.
Yeah. It's like, it's great that people are engaging in justice work finally. And it's beautiful that, you know, like here in Reading, we have over 1,000 some odd people marching with us. Police chief marching with us. Beautiful protest. Beautiful march. Very peaceful. Very, very beautiful. But it's like, are you going to be here tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, you painted a sign, Black Lives Matter, but are you actually going to keep engaging in the subject long enough to actually see change? I believe we're on a tipping point. I believe we're in revival.
Yeah.
But if you don't actually push the thing actually off the table and push it off the ledge, and then after it's broken down on the floor, then rebuild a whole new system that actually replaces it, that's actually better than the last one.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything.
Absolutely.
Right now, the thing is wobbling on the table, on the edge of the table, and we're like, oh, we did it, right? And it's like, no. Like, break the system and reform it.
Right.
Like, that's actually what we're asking for. Break it and reform it and say, hey, sorry, we called it equality and we call it liberty and justice for all. It was never that.
Yeah.
It was liberty and justice for white people, white males, white land-owning males who had slaves. So now we want to redo the system 400 years later and say, hey, yo, we screwed up. That thing that you're talking about, Justin. We screwed up. We messed up.
Yeah.
Here, it's fixed now.
Yeah.
I want you in the room when we're writing this Declaration of Independence this time.
Right.
I want you in the room when we're writing this Constitution this time.
Yeah.
When we're writing the Bill of Rights, we want you in the room. Tell me what it's like to be Black in this nation. Tell me what it's like to be Latino in this nation. Tell me what it's like to be a woman in this nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's write a system that actually serves everybody.
That's so good.
But we ain't ready for that yet. That's why we got to push that thing over the ledge.
Right.
Like this is where we could get political. I'm personally not a fan of taking away police.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that the system's getting shaken.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that the system's
you're
getting
like,
shaken.
we need reform.
Reform.
And so are we going to get disrupted enough that there will be reform? Or I was reading yesterday about the Charleston shooting, which is where the one white guy walks into the church and shoots 9 people. Yeah. And one of the daughters, so her mom, like uncle, like half of her family was in there. And what she said is, we have a tendency to be emotionally reactive when these things happen. And we go on for a couple of weeks and we get the hashtags, she says. But when it comes to the hard work, then I believe we retreat right back to our separate corners and live our lives. Yeah. And and that's been kind of my heart, is to see that because I actually think what will end up happening is, I do believe that tipping is happening. I have so many white friends who are having conversations for the first time, who are engaging, who are watching, who are reading. Like, it feels like when the conversations I'm having feel incredibly hopeful, but I'm aware for the Black community, if this, like, while we're waking up, if you keep doing this round and round, then it just creates actually almost resentment even at us waking up.
Absolutely.
And then it gets to where we're stuck again.
Yes, exactly.
And so there has to be a place where we begin to carry this movement without another murder pushing it forward.
That's the goal. That's the goal. Because it's like I said, the exchange rate is too high. It's way too high. A life for awakening is too high. And if this is why education is so crucial, because if you start to know the story, anybody with a justice bone in their body is looking at that like, oh my God, they did what to you? For how long? Oh my God. Well, you want me to march? Hell yeah, I'm gonna march.
Yeah.
You need me to call somebody? I'll call somebody.
Yeah.
You know, that's a small price to pay for 400 years in America of oppression.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about Africa.
Right.
Just 400 years in this country of oppression. It's a small price to pay to march. It's a small price to pay to lose some followers on Instagram because, people telling you to shut up. You know, that's a small price to pay. There's no lashes on your back.
Right.
There's no dehumanization there. There's no stripping of your name. You know, this is a small price to pay. And this is what I think we're asking for people now to do. This is like the social contract that nobody's written. I feel like it's to keep people engaged enough in the conversation to actually like go watch 13th on Netflix. Go watch When They See Us on Netflix. Like go read a book. Go listen to some, White Fragility or whatever, like Divided by Faith for us Christian folks. You know, like go read a book and just look at the history of it and be like, I dare you to walk away from the history of it and be unchanged.
Right. Because
the story is too long. Yeah. It's too direct. It's too, it's enough right there. Just read it. And tell me you won't do something about it.
I think that one of the walls that is ran into for a lot of white people is that, the thing that comes up inside of them is, I didn't do any of this. I didn't participate in having slaves. I didn't participate in oppressing anyone. Yeah. I've loved people. And I think that then they become confused because they go, oh, I feel so attacked inside of this. I'm just living life over here. And I think that if we address that portion of it, to that people group, I want to say, yeah, you're right. Maybe you didn't do anything. Maybe you're not racist. Maybe you're not all these things. But there is an invitation in this season. We as a people group get to participate in healing, restoring, redeeming the years that were lost. And you sure as heck don't have to do anything. That's right. You don't have to, but you get to. Like I said this, like part of my white privilege is in this season, I have the privilege of being a white man who can have conversations or help to empower like my wife or help to empower a conversation like this and go, well, I'm going to step into that. I don't have to. There's an invitation for me to get to do something, to get to be part of something that wasn't possible 100 years ago. It was not really possible to have these dialogues without your house being burned down. like I get a special gift born into this generation and this time dispensation. And when we look at it, we go, well, I as the individual didn't. Yeah, but if we look at Black culture and white culture in America, that alone, we're just having that conversation as two individuals. Yeah, we are the byproduct of our past, and we are still part of that individual, and we've grown a little bit as individuals. But what are we going to do to actually resolve the war between the individuals and bring the healing, the restoration? And so there's this thing of, I can sit back and say I am only one individual, which is very selfish. I think that there's something beautiful about being able to go, all right, I value and love Justin. But when I take myself out of the context of the global community or the bigger community or the bigger thing, that becomes so selfish. And so we have to go back into a place of going, no, I'm part of something more than myself. And I have to let go of my selfishness. Yeah, that's a hard thing from what I hear from white people. No, it is. And not just the recognizing that you didn't do anything, but to self-identify yourself inside of a whole narrative. Right. From what I hear, I actually haven't read White Fragility, but my wife did, and because we use Audible a lot, I've heard a good chunk of it, which is a gift. Audible is delightful. Yes. Yeah. You should sponsor Justin and Abby's podcast and give me another free subscription or something. But like
the individual the individual is exalted in the white culture,
Right.
and even more so in Christian culture, because it's based on personal salvation. And that's beautiful, but like you said, you're part of a narrative.
Right.
You didn't get here by yourself. Your granddaddy didn't get here by yourself. So keep going back and look at it and just be like, yeah, you're right. 100 years ago, we are killed for this conversation.
Yes.
Killed. I'm not getting out. Justin's not getting out. Abby's not getting out.
Yep.
This building might not even be standing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
But here, 2020, we could do this.
Yeah.
We could really, really do this. And it's not impossible. I feel like in one generation, our kids could have a totally different conversation in their 30s.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
That'd be awesome.
That if
Little
we all
Millers
banded together.
Yeah. Little Millers, little stump balls running around. Oh, yeah. Our mommies and daddy had this conversation a while back, and now it's completely different. We actually have abolished slavery. I mean, not slavery. Slavery was abolished a long time ago, but we've abolished racism in this nation.
Yeah.
And hearts and minds are in a different space.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's do that.
Tell me, what do you see as things that need to be like to move forward for both whites and blacks and the collective? Like, what are the different things you see are needed?
Well, first, I would say for black people, take care of yourself. The black community has a stigma on mental health, and we need to take care of us. All of us, well, I wouldn't say all of us. A good chunk of us are in trauma brain.
Yeah.
Which is valid.
Absolutely.
We've just experienced a very, very traumatic act.
Can I just say something to that really quick? Because
please,
we deal with trauma all the time.
Please, Abby, teach us, Abby.
Well, I feel awkward jumping in because I don't have any consciousness about race, but I do understand trauma.
Yes, it's trauma.
And so one of the things that I have been thinking about so much is there is a thing of secondhand trauma. So let's say that you go to the hospital and you see somebody code and they die in front of you. You can be traumatized by seeing that. If you see someone murdered on the street, you can be traumatized by seeing that. Yeah. Like we are built where our brains, when we see images, we cannot actually differentiate if that's going to happen to us or not.
Yes.
And so, I mean, like at the basic survival level, our conscious doesn't necessarily think that, but our subconscious is built to help us survive. And so the way it helps us survive is it's always looking for danger. And then it's always telling us this could happen to you. What do we need to do to avoid this? And so when I've been thinking about this for Black culture right now, you have image after image after image after image of crazy violence, where like just one of those images, I said this on the podcast last week, everybody who saw the George Floyd murder, that is actually traumatizing. Yep. Actually, both sides, black, white, Mexican,
just
woman,
watching
men,
a person,
watching a person be murdered
in broad daylight,
who is begging for their life, tells all of our systems, like, and so there is this thing that of like constant trauma, visually and emotionally, that is being stirred up. And I think what maybe sometimes is hard for white people to understand, I don't know, I'm speaking because I'm white and I've heard conversations, but
you're an expert white woman.
I'm an expert white woman, but is like, so maybe another shooting will happen or the next thing will happen and you'll feel the whole uproar every single time. Obviously, what I think people don't get is because every time it's a reaffirmation of violence towards me, of unsafety towards me, of powerlessness towards me. And it is it's like living in a childhood where you see your dad beat your mom. He may never lay a hand on you. But if you see him beat your mom, over and over again, you're going to feel unsafe and you're going to feel trauma from watching what happens to her because you're connected to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think just as you're talking about trauma brain, 100%, it'd be nearly impossible to not have trauma in culture and with all of the images that we have access to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love Sean King, but follow Sean King on Instagram. You see police brutality and racial violence every day. I mean, honestly, that's what made me actually have to unfollow him at a certain point.
Totally.
I unfollow him.
Too much for your
it's
system.
too much for my system. I go back on the page often to check and see what's happening, but
Sure.
I actually had to disengage.
Right.
So, like I said, Black people take care of you.
What does taking care of you look like for you?
Go to therapy. I mean, I just started, but still go to therapy. Preston Perry, he has this shirt that says Jesus and therapy. Hallelujah. Do that. That's the will of God for your life right there. That's a prophetic word for somebody out there in the audience.
That's a prophetic word.
That's a prophetic word for somebody. But I would say take care of you. Do whatever you got to do. If you got to get out of your city, do it for a trip or whatever. But disengage and then re-engage. Do all the grounding techniques and all that sorts of deal. That grounding technique took me out. It flipped my whole brain.
Tell us about it.
Oh God. I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
But like, so from what my therapist told me, she's amazing. She's a trauma therapist. So she told me, she was like, name 5 things that you experience right now, that you see right now. So she was like, there's these microphones in my face. Abi and Justin are here. My cup of water's next to me. And then she's like, tell me what you smell. So it's all to bring you back into your senses, into the moment. And so you could ground yourself in the moment and be like, oh, I'm actually okay here. Like, I'm actually safe in this room. Like, this room, there's no threat here. Like, there's no threat. Justin might jump on me. That's not the only threat. But we could wrestle. It's okay. So it's like, okay,
one
I'm
of your
safe.
pinkies could flick him off.
Right. But it's like, okay, like, I'm safe. And when you come out of that, you're able to actually process your emotions better. Yeah. Does that make sense? Is that true?
Yeah.
That's what I had to do with my trauma.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the 5 senses. So what do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you taste? And what do you feel? So that's another way you can go through each sense and be like, what are 5 things I see? What are 5 things? And what it does is it's actually bringing the blood in your brain out of the fight or flight place back into the present place. And what I think you said is so important, like actually recognizing that you're safe.
Safe.
Because I've been feeling, just as a feeler, I've been feeling for the global Black community, that feeling of unsafety. Yep. Which obviously we can validate why it feels so real. Right. But when I feel unsafe, it creates a lot of chaos for me.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like now I'm in anxiety all the time. Now it's easier for me to snap at Justin. Now it's easier for, like, I start thinking differently when I feel unsafe. I don't have hope for my future when I feel unsafe. I don't have peace. Yeah. Like I can't feel loved because I'm on guard. Yeah. And so I love what you said. I know, again, I'm not saying this, that Black people, you need to do this. I'm not preaching to you.
I'll say it. Listen to Abi and Justin. Listen to what they're telling you. Do that.
Well, just like what we've had to do is say, okay, I'm safe here. Exactly what you said.
Yes.
Actually say, I'm safe right now. And verbalize it. Because it helps your brain to know that it's not in those moments that you're seeing, because your brain can actually get caught where it doesn't know that it's not experiencing that. It doesn't know that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not on that street there.
That's not going to happen to me. And so that happens in emotional flashbacks too from our childhoods. We don't know that we're not back in our childhood when it shows up. And so what we often have to do is something we call time stamping, which will say, okay, I know that as a little kid, it was not safe being around mom. But I want you to know now I'm an adult and I'm safe here. Wow. And all it's saying is helping your brain recognize the moment you're in, which is part of the five senses.
I want to add a little quick to that.
Please.
Based on mine. So Abby and I were having a discussion recently about a lot of the explosive anger and rage that I had when we first got married. And we were processing the places where she felt traumatized by it and stuff like that. And we've dialogued about this before in the past, but so she would be scared at the idea like, oh, I don't know if you're going to hit me, where I was like, I would never hit you. That doesn't even make sense to me. Right. But for me in the moments, one of the things that was happening inside of me is, and I told her, I felt like I was a 5-year-old little boy every time you seemed like you were angry with me. And I felt like I was about to be hit by you and pummeled by you. And so I felt like I had to get really angry to protect myself. Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm exploding. And
he literally was scared of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I could throttle her, but I wasn't, in no way, shape or form did I feel like I was an adult. And as I progressively find healing for that, I had to tell myself, Justin, you are safe. You are not small anymore. You can protect yourself here. I had to begin to have dialogues of truth because I was convinced she was about to come decimate me.
And so that's where it's like what you're saying is very true. And then what we have to do is also create a new world where you see safety.
Yeah. Where we actually repair a world.
So that we, like, because Justin, if he just apologized to me and explained it to me, but was still exploding like that, it wouldn't actually help me feel safe.
So part of that then had to be actually changing the environment and reforming the places inside of our marriage where we were at so that all of that could be changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we want a place where you feel like we're going to protect you.
See, for those who don't know what just happened there, the prophetic picture that they were just painting. Imagine if your trigger is white people and you're black. And you're like me. You live in a very white town. And you go to a very white church. Think about that. Every person that you walk down the hall with, every person you interact with is a trigger. Justin saying he's an adult male and he's scared of his wife.
Yeah,
who's little?
Who's yes, not a big person for sure. Abby, you're tall though.
I'm tall, but I'm not strong.
So it's like God, what do you think is happening out here in these streets, man?
Yeah,
you want to ask why are people looting and rioting? They're freaked out.
Yeah.
So yeah, black people, take care of yourself. Do whatever you got to do. But also get to that safe place, because this is the thing too. And I think I could say this, and this is not me playing to white people, but that mistakes thing, this is where we could get ourselves in trouble. You sleep with that guy's unprotected. Now all of a sudden you got an STD or a baby. Just think about what the possibilities are when you make a mistake to relieve the pain that you're in, the rightful pain that you're in. Just start to make good decisions. You could destroy your life in a moment like this.
Because you're in pain and you're medicating in destructive ways.
Because nobody taught you how to actually get yourself out of it.
Right.
And in the black community, I didn't learn about mental health until I got here.
Can I add something to that real quick? I got a phone call yesterday from one of my buddies out of LA, and he has a close friend who's doing a documentary called I'm in Pain, and it's around rappers, like big name rappers. And he's trying to have a conversation about their pain. Because one of the things in rap music, and I was a big fan of rap music. I actually grew up on it, funny enough. I grew up in an all-white town, 4,000 cowboys, and I'm riding around listening to rap music. But inside of the rap music is a lot of violence and anger inside of it. And part of the conversation he's wanting to have and wants to potentially invite me into helping him figure out how to facilitate these dialogues, but which is, oh, this anger or this violence is actually your way of saying, I have pain. I don't know how to process my pain. I'm actually really sad from what I grew up in and what I watched and saw. And so I think that just to validate what you're saying there is that there's a community that hasn't known how to communicate. I am sad. I am in so much pain. Do you see me? Mm-hmm. And so as you're saying this, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so good, Jon.
Yeah, that's real. And even to that, this is one thing that white people could really help us out at. Tell us it's safe to say you're not okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get that till I got here. To actually, because I'll speak from my spiritual environment. And this is no diss to my church back home.
Yeah.
But there was no safety in saying I'm not okay. Because we thought you were out of faith if you weren't okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Then you just got to trap it inside.
Yes. You can't even go to the people who can actually help you.
Yeah.
Your leaders, your authority figures, the safe ones.
Yeah.
You can't actually bring pain to. So that's a whole nother thing there that actually you have to give you. And also when Black people say that they're experiencing pain and loss and they're in grief, again, like we said at the beginning, don't come with facts.
Yeah.
Come with heart.
Yep.
Come with, okay, tell me more. You might not ever get it. And that's cool. Like I don't need an intellectual dialogue when I'm in trauma or when I'm in pain. I need a heart. I need a hand. I need a hug. I need somebody to go get me food. I need like that's what I need. Like literally, I just need somebody to be like, bruh, like I get it. Like even though I don't get it, but I'm just here for you. Like somebody texted me the other day. They were like, I got whiskey for you, and I was like, you know what? Like I'm not a heavy drinker, but like I love that.
But you're thinking of
me. Like I love that. Like the hey, like I have an ear and I have whiskey.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I don't even know you that well, but I'll ride with that. Like that, I might do that. Like that, like not to say I'm going to be destructive in drinking. See that? Sure. That's where the destructiveness comes back.
You got to be careful.
You got to be careful. You got to drink in moderation. Come on, you know? But what white people can do, I would say, is educate yourself. Go on a journey of educating yourself. I hear a lot of white people, and this is to point fingers, whatever it is, what it is. I'm not the confronter, but this is what it is right here. But I just want to say, like, if you're trying to engage in the conversation uneducated, you aren't helping the conversation.
Right. If you haven't done the investigative work.
Right. And let me just say this. Candace Owens is not a source.
Of investigating.
No, she is not a source. She's like Wikipedia on your term paper. Like you can't cite Wikipedia.
Totally.
Like somebody changes that. Like somebody changes that info like daily. So I just want to let you know, like Candace Owens does not speak for Black America. No diss to Candace Owens. I would love to have a conversation with her. Some of these Black Republicans, God bless them. And there's nothing wrong with being a Republican. You could be a Republican. But I just say most of the Black conservative voices that I'm hearing aren't actually diving into pain and aren't actually making connections. They're just having a political dialogue, which is about sides. Understand that. The political conversation does not equal connection.
Yeah.
Does not. Now, you can have an intelligent political dialogue, but that does not bring connection.
Yeah.
That does not heal wounds.
Come on.
You're actually just inciting more wounds, honestly, because it's in my brain, it's toxic. Anyway, that's me. I know Justin said earlier that I speak for all Black people. I don't speak for all Black people.
we were
but
joking.
that was definitely a moment where I didn't speak for all Black people. I can't stand politics.
I will say this is on behalf of all of us.
That's funny.
Dude. Yeah. So, but yeah, educate yourself, and I mean, as simple as it is, do life with Black people. Like, do life with Black people on an intimate level, on a relational level. And also, like, I mean, I don't know when you guys are on post this, but tomorrow, I shouldn't say tomorrow, but like June 19th is Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Juneteenth is this is the day that actually every black person got free. They had to basically, to shorten the story, they had to ride down to Texas because Texas was crazy, and they kept their slaves for 2 more years, I believe, 2 more harvests after the Emancipation Proclamation, after Lincoln and them boys fixed it. They actually had to go down there to impose freedom.
Wow.
So they call it Juneteenth. Black people call it Juneteenth. Some white people call it Freedom Day. I call it Juneteenth. Engage with that community on that day. Like figure out what they're doing in your community. Either it be, obviously we're in quarantine in a pandemic. Like if it's virtually, or if it's actually in a house or whatever. Engage with that community and come in and just go low and just be like, I just want to be here and love. Like, that will bring healing to the black community, that there is somebody who is white who just wants to be here and laugh and giggle and talk and be normal with us. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'll say this for all black people, that's a sign of wonder for us. Because most people are talking to us about political conversations,
right? Or
they're unsafe because they're the people who are oppressing us,
right?
You come to the cookout if you get invited. If you don't just stroll in, but if you come and actually show love, Independence Day, July 4th is coming up soon. Another day where people congregate. That's another opportunity for you to invite some black people over. Do life with black people. Create community with black people. Then thirdly, I would say read another book. Don't just read one book. Read 2 books.
Yeah.
Hear black voices. This is where actually the beauty of our time. If you follow, Cornel West on Instagram, actually you'll begin to get black voices fed into your actual what they call algorithm, that thing. So start to follow black voices on Instagram or on Facebook, so that you could actually start getting fed black voices. If all the voices that you're listening to are white, problem. You're hearing a half of the world. Yeah, just straight up, like you're hearing half of the world. Start hearing black voices, start hearing brown voices. And if you're in a secular environment, start hearing gay voices, start hearing trans voices. Not to say that you're affirming or that you whatever, but just start to hear other people's voices. So you
can understand, so you can empathize, so that you can see their humanity.
And also, when they need you to ride for them, you can ride for them. I'm sorry, that's African-American colloquialism for showing up for them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when it's time, I literally had this conversation with my brown brothers, the guy who was in my wedding. I said, hey, bro, how can I show up for brown people? Because I'm passionate about racial reconciliation. Yeah. I have generally the conversation between white people and black people.
Right.
I don't have the conversation between brown people and white people. So I was like, how do I show up? I had a conversation with an Asian American sister here in town. I was like, how do I show up for you? She sent me a documentary. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch the documentary, but it's on my radar now, where I start to, they have their own plight. Like when Trump starts saying that it's a Chinese virus, this Korean American woman in Reading is now being terrorized. Note, think about that. Reading, California, DC, Korea. She's from Korea. She's not from China.
Totally.
But all they see is squinty eyes and a yellow face, and they're like, "Oh, you're Asian." Right. I hope that wasn't offensive to my Asian friends. I love you, But hey, I'm on the journey. Feel free to DM me and tell me I'm wrong. I need to be wrong if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But start to engage in the conversation, and that's what I would tell white people. And I would say any other person of color. I just had this conversation with my friend. He's Filipino American. He's first generation. And he was like, hey, bro, what do I do in this thing? And I was like, well, first off, for you weren't even a part of this. Your mommy and daddy came here in the 90s. You just got here. Welcome, bro. But he's dating a African American woman. She's actually biracial. So I'm like, well, bro, you're in the conversation now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as just a Filipino American male, you could figure out your way into the conversation. But because you're dating a black girl, welcome.
Yeah.
Like, welcome. Like, you're in it. And now you have to do the education work just like anybody else.
Yeah.
But education is crucial. Listen to black voices are crucial. And do the work of mental health. Also, white people, take care of yourself as well.
Yeah.
You know, if you need to get off Instagram for 2-3 days, don't feel any shame about that.
Yeah.
Like, take care of you, do your box breathing, do your what do we call the
5
exercise?
senses.
5 senses, grounding.
Yep,
Do all that. Do all that. And do anything else that Abi and Justin tell you about mental health. Caroline Leaf, another sister that's great about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Follow these mental health people because they will help you in this season.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's really good.
Let me add one really quick thing to that. I think that one of the things that you said that was really great is you talked about being able to participate in educating. And when we hear educate yourself, it's like, what does that even mean? And you started kind of breaking that down. It's like, oh, I could actually watch some films, like try and find where I can hear black voices, read books from black people or whatever to get perspectives on this. Because the truth is, there's a good majority of white America that isn't around black America.
Nope.
They just aren't. It's like you would have to go and ask them to move to your entire city to even get one. Hey, would you mind moving here so we could have a conversation with you?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the gaps, is because obviously black people are a minority, and that minority means there's way less black people.
13%, y'all.
Yeah, 13%. So it's like, so I think a lot of white people end up feeling powerless to engage. They're like, feel overwhelmed because they're like, I don't know how to engage. You're asking me to engage. And I think that this was a great way that you're talking about, is like, yeah, we don't have any black people in our town, but I'd like to find out more about this conversation and find out what's going on beyond, oh, there's a bunch of people in the street setting fire to stuff. Like, oh, I want to get past the news sources and the politics of it all and investigate, because I can be part of the global community that has a heart for love, a heart for reconciliation. And that can morph into so many things when someone starts that journey that we don't even know what that could turn into for them.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's not your fault if you live in an all-white city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't go into that shame and guilt of white guilt and white fragility. It doesn't help you.
Yeah.
It doesn't help you. Listen to Abi and Justin again about shame and guilt. Cause literally, like, that will paralyze you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're sitting here and you're following the same news sources that you always been following. You following these same people who promote racist ideology. And now you're just like, oh, you know, these black people are effing crazy. And it's like,
Right.
well, you didn't listen. And also, this is a moment. Like Justin said, this is a moment. Tap into the moment, man.
Yeah.
Don't let shame paralyze you and trap you like it trapped me with Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Don't let that thing trap you. Do something. Just sit, get up out of your bed and do something. Do one thing today that promotes reconciliation, that actually is anti-racist. Do one thing today.
Yeah.
That's success.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And we might actually have more conversations on the podcast about this at some point. But I think for white people, something to recognize is you may be triggered by what's happening. And some of that is good triggering, like the triggering that makes you step into action. And some of it is the normal life triggering that happens when you get triggered by your boss, when you get triggered by the grocery store clerk, when you get, like, our systems are designed to bring up past pain when we're in an event that our brain thinks could be painful again. And so our heart would be to actually figure out what your trigger is about your own history that isn't about this moment.
Yeah.
Work through your healing so that you can show up in this moment.
Yes.
So that you can actually participate.
Yes.
Because like you said, shame will actually shut you down and then it will make you defensive and it'll make you blame. I don't want to feel this pain. And so I'm just going to blame that this isn't really an issue so that I can feel better, instead of being like, okay, what does this moment remind me of from my childhood that has nothing to do with this, for white people is what I'm saying.
But black people need to do the same thing.
Yeah.
We need to figure out what's actually triggering us. Because, you can't just say, oh, the police shot somebody. No. There's a pain point down there that you need to get to for you. Not for white people, not for the conversation, for you.
Right.
Yeah.
To be great for you and for your kids and for your generations. Yeah. So
that's really good, John. So my point was just, we have to work through what is causing us the need to disengage. It could be shame. It could be guilt. It could be fear of, I know so many people who have so much fear of doing things wrong and getting in trouble. Well, typically that goes back to a childhood where you got in trouble a lot for having a good heart and you got in trouble. And so it's not that it's just culture. It's also, we get to heal. This demands us, if we'll choose in and not take the easy road, it will demand us to heal more.
Yes.
And that will also give us the ability to bring healing more.
Yes.
But one thing I wanted to ask you about is, because you're talking about this right now as it's happening.
Yes.
Tell us what it's like processing with people while you're in trauma.
I wish I knew. I mean, I'm contrary to popular belief, as much as I'm talking about mental health, I am not a mental health expert. But I am a human that is passionate about mental health because I want it for me. Yeah. I want it for my family. I want it for my kids.
Love that.
So I don't know. This is the weird thing. This is what specifically white churches, probably all church, just church in general. You need to recognize when you start to pull on people who are in pain, who are processing the emotion of something nationally, globally, whatever. They're not just experts in the subject. They're experts in the subject because of pain.
Right.
They know the subject because of pain. Normally, like especially in a church context or any other context, let's say a person has a divorce. You normally give that person 2-3 weeks off. You let them work from home.
You don't have them come teach about divorce.
Exactly.
While they're going through it.
Yeah. Come teach about marriage right in the middle of it. It's
right.
like, who the hell are you?
Totally.
So like that's painful. Like and then this is like, so to finish your point, it is painful. So for me, I am trying to sort myself out while articulating the emotion I just processed
a second ago.
So even like last night, and because I went to counseling this week and I got a little bit more healing, I figured out where my trigger was, and I figured out, oh, that's just that. I'm still upset, but at least that's that. Like I could start to point at things. I'm better. I'm a lot better this week than I was last week, and obviously this is weeks removed. So I'm better. But last night, my wife goes to sleep. I sit there and I play video games because I need to just kind of like decompress from the day. But while I'm playing video games, I'm ruminating on the thoughts that are in my head because they're just in my head. And then a new fresh emotion comes up. And then I'm coming here to talk to Abi and Justin, and I'm talking about the emotion that I literally processed last night. So what do you think about the exhaustion that creates over, and this is now week 3 of me talking about the subject. And I like, honestly, y'all, like, I haven't figured me out.
Totally.
Yeah.
I am literally last night feeling intense pain about what's going on. And you guys haven't figured yourself out.
Nope.
Yeah.
But this is also leadership at a certain level.
Right.
But also recognize that your people of color who are talking about the conversation, they're in pain while they're educating.
Yeah.
And that's actually cruel to a certain degree.
Totally.
At a certain point.
Yep.
Today, not cruel. But let's say another body shows up dead in the streets another year later, and they have to do this same song and dance again. Cruel.
So what I hear you saying is, if we are proactive to have these conversations when there's not another dead body in the street, as you're saying, that's not cruel. What's cruel is oh, now we're ready to have the conversation when there's another tragedy. And you're like, I can't keep having to have this conversation about my world and my culture only at the times when massive trauma comes up. Please come start having dialogues. Yeah, like when we're at maybe a peaceful break for a few seconds and create the platforms, create the opportunities, have the conversation.
And that's where I think and I'd said this last week on our podcast, I was like, please don't burn out. Like to the white community, don't be like, I have to post everything every day. I have to jump all the way in the deep end of all of their pain. And because what will happen is if you don't remember, we just went through a pandemic that was very traumatizing.
Just went through. We're in the middle of it.
We're in it still. Yeah, totally. Yes. And then the race stuff. And I'm like, if you jump into the trauma too deep, then you are going to hit a wall where you're like, I can't process any of it anymore.
Done, I don't care.
And what we need in the peace change to happen.
Yes.
So we're talking about running a marathon.
We need to run a marathon.
It's a marathon instead of
it's an ultra marathon.
Yeah, an ultra marathon. Yeah.
So we need to have people stay. I just wanted maybe one more question I had for you was, I think it'd be good for people who are listening, maybe who are people of color. Could you just describe just all the different kinds of emotions that you have felt in the last few weeks?
I think that's a good way to,
Oh, all the emotions? I need to pull out the whole feelings wheel and just read and just tell you, Monday I was here, Tuesday I was here. I was telling Abi and Justin today, near their studio, their office, they have on the bridge of on Churn Creek Boulevard in Reading, they have these on the concrete barriers that prevent you from falling over the edge. They have stickers that say Black Lives Matter. Like we said, Reading is super white, super white, and very conservative politically.
Absolutely.
And political conservatives haven't really fallen in love with this message. We'll say that to keep it plain. But to see that in my city gives me hope. You know, to go to a march where you see majority white people is hope. When I see New Zealand is protesting, it gives me hope. When I hear Nigeria is there's this awesome video of this Nigerian woman talking about, if you don't have justice for George Floyd, and she's just going at it in her West African Nigerian accent, and it's just awesome. It lifts me to another level. I was talking to my friend from South Africa who's Black, and I was just texting her, and she was like, I'm praying for you guys. I have hope. But then last night, I'm in deep pain. I'm processing 96 days for this woman to get justice. How heartbreaking can that be? How hopeless do you feel that the system that's supposed to keep you safe and that's supposed to actually bring you justice is not serving you? I hear, the brother in Atlanta who just got killed. God, I forget his name, but they just prosecuted him yesterday. Or they just prosecuted the police officer yesterday, or charged him. And I'm seeing my friends who are cops, who are ex-cops, they're like, I can't believe it. Like, they're pissed off. And I'm like, no, I'm actually like rejoicing that the fact that somebody's actually getting charged, especially because another cop shot a Black person and they didn't get charged. And I'm not saying that, once again, cops are bad, but like, I'm just saying that I'm seeing victory, but my friends are crying for a different reason. They're upset. So I'm sad. I'm like, God, should I reach out to this guy? Should I not? And also, guys, I'm a 2 on the Enneagram, so I'm very helping oriented. My thought is others always. I count it as a superpower, but I'm like, oh, should I reach out? Should I have this whole conversation? And then, I'm getting texts from people in our community who I love, and they're sending me Candace Owens videos, which enrages me. Right. And they're saying, well, this person's saying this. And I'm like, do you not get that I'm still in pain?
Yeah.
Like, do you not get that actually I'm in one of the lower moments of my life right now? And you bring up this woman to try to articulate your subject, but just because she has the same skin as me is validated.
Right.
No. We're not even gonna go down that hole. My wife has a beautiful post about that, about Candace Owens not speaking for Black communities. Beautiful post. And so I'm all over the map.
Right.
One day I'm good, one day I'm bad, 1 hour I'm good, 1 hour I'm bad.
Yeah.
And then this is the crazy thing is I'm a leader here in our community.
And you've been having conversation after conversation.
But also I'm a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm having to sort myself out just enough to have a one-on-one with a student.
Right.
So how, like, I don't even have the room to fully exhale before the next thing has to hit me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a mess. I'm tired. I'm tired because I've talked about this for how many years?
Right.
I'm tired because my dad had to deal with the same thing on a different level. My dad, he assumed the position 28 times in his lifetime. He's 60 something.
Wow.
He grew up in LA. Was born in South Central. So gratefully, my dad's never taken a charge or never been arrested or anything like that. But like, he's had to assume the position, get handcuffed 28 times.
Wow.
I've luckily never had to. So there's progress there. But I'm also hearing his story and I'm saying, frick, man, like we've changed, but we haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Like he grew up in a city that killed Black bodies. I'm living in a nation that killed Black bodies.
Right.
And if I lived in his city, I'd be talking about the Black bodies that are dead in the street too.
Right.
So are we fixing it by this protest that we just did that brought me joy? Are we not? I'm going at it from a biblical kingdom perspective. Is that actually the way? Like, I hear anti-racism. I'm flooded
with so many voices, so many opinions. So many different, like, this is the way, or this is what needs to happen, or this is how to do it, or you're wrong and this is why. So you just like, it's like an over inundation of voices while you're processing trauma.
Right.
Because it'd kind of be like if I posted, me and Justin were getting divorced, and then everybody on social media sent in their opinions to me about it while I was processing it.
Yo,
like in that moment.
That right there, Abby Stumval, that is the word of God right there. that right there, that is so true. Like, imagine that. Like let that sink in to our listeners. You're going through a painful moment in your life, and somebody's giving you advice on how to fix it.
Yeah.
When they're not in your marriage and they have very little relational equity.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was good, babe.
I feel, I just feel so much compassion and empathy, and I feel really sad, and I'm really sorry. I know that when there's been cycles in my life that feel repetitive, and I've only been 36.
Yeah, right.
For just 36 years, when cycles feel repetitive, I feel hopeless.
Yeah.
And so I feel really sad for the pain that you're having to carry that hasn't been able to be unloaded, and for the hopelessness and for the fear. And I feel like it's really brave. When I've thought about that, because I had a friend who grew up in the Columbine shooting, and I had told you this, that they had written a song about it and went around and shared about gun violence and all that stuff right when it happened. But it shut them down to processing the trauma they were just in, because it just, like, they had to switch over so fast. And I've thought that often in this moment. And I'm incredibly thankful for all of the Black leaders who've stood up and had a voice and articulated things, and who's engaged this conversation. It's very generous to invite white people in to the conversation, like to hold it together in a way where you can be civilized at the people you're working through your pain with, to have a conversation for them, not for you. It's very, very generous. to do that. And so I just, for you and everyone listening who has done what you're doing, I just want to thank you and honor you for that gift and validate how hard it is to process in real time while you're doing it. I think in a very small way, me and Justin have felt that way about this podcast. Like, what do we do? Because we're trying to emotionally process it. And we only talk on things that we know about on this podcast normally. Like we normally talk about things we figured out already. And so as we've been on this journey, we've been like, what do we say? Because we don't know anything yet. And we're white. Yeah. And just trying to figure that. So for Black people to have to figure out all of their feelings and communicate and articulate them, and then to get attacked if they articulate them wrong, is really painful. So I just want to validate anyone who's listening, and you, Jon, for the kindness that you're doing. I'm sad that you have to pay the price for it. I'm really thankful for the opportunity, though, that you have given us.
It's been an honor.
I want to say some final words myself. To both you, Jon, and the Black community that is writhing in pain right now, I want to say I'm really sorry. I'm sorry for every place that you haven't felt seen. I'm sorry for every place that you haven't felt understood. I'm sorry for how scared you felt. I'm sorry for how overwhelmed and exhausted you feel in this conversation, in the journey inside of the country, the nation that we've had. I'm sorry for the places where you feel hopeless, as if there's not solutions, and I'm really sorry for the places where you feel lonely, because I know that a lot of you have to be feeling lonely, especially when you get facts thrown at you. And I'm sorry for every person who hasn't known how to respond, especially every white person who hasn't known how to respond, and they've responded with facts, or they've responded with videos that validate their perspectives. I'm really sorry for the places where you haven't known how to validate your own pain, and it feels even worse, feeling like someone else is running over the top of it. So I am sorry, and I can speak for Justin, but I would like to stand up and speak on behalf of white America for a second and say, I'm sorry for the injustice that we've played in the role of your journey, of your humanity. I'm sorry for the places where you felt dehumanized, and that moments like this can push on the button of feeling really dehumanized. So I'm speaking to those who went before you and to you now that have felt dehumanized and been dehumanized in moments. And I am really sorry for that. Please forgive me for the role that I've played. And I speak on behalf of white people, of white males especially. I am sorry. Please forgive me for the role that I played in bringing oppression to the community, for the places that I used you, abused you, and threw you away and discarded your voices along the way. So I want to speak on behalf of that generalization and say, I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. I am for you. I want to see you healed. I want to join with you on your journey. And I love you. And again, I'm sorry.
You're forgiven. Let's go change the world.
Come on. Awesome. Well, Jon, thank you so much for making yourself available.
Absolutely.
To this. Like you said, I've been overwhelmed with a lot of stuff right now, and you're choosing to give us the gift of your time and your conversation
and your emotions
to drop it in there, and the vulnerability inside of it. And so I just really thankful. I'm very thankful for who you are as a person, and I'm so thankful for your life, and that I get this unique moment with you.
Oh man, it's an honor to be here, and thank you guys for using your platform so beautifully to have this conversation and to wake up people and to equip people is powerful. It's powerful. This is what reconciliation and transformation look like. And I pray that this goes out across the world and actually impacts people's lives like we're being impacted in this room.
Yeah.
And I pray that also that people who look like me get the help from people who look like you. And I pray that it specifically comes from people who look like you, not just have your skill set, but look like you. Wow. Because there's healing on top of healing in that.
Yeah, there is.
So,
and let's plan on having another conversation about race in 3 months when, praise dear Jesus, let it not be because of trauma.
Let it be, Lord.
Let
Let
it
it be. Amen. I'm with that.
Amen.
All right. So
thanks,
you guys,
John. If you want to follow him and his wife, you did something right after the shooting, which I thought was incredible. You had an online event where people could come and just share and connect. And I love it. I think you guys you're working on creating space for people. And so I think it'd be a great job to follow him and his wife at Big Jon Miller.
At Big Jon Miller.
Jon, not John.
No H.
And then Ecclesia, which you'll have to spell.
Yeah. ACLESIA. Coaches. COACHES. Both at Instagram.
Yep.
My wife, she's incredible on Instagram. She's so brilliant. And we're both life coaches. So if you need life coaching stuff, holler at us. We're here for it. But yeah. Come follow us.
Love that.
And if you think that this is a good conversation that brings restoration to your community, please share this episode. I think that this is a time for an episode like this to go out and to begin to build bridges and tear down barriers. So,
Yeah.
All right. Love y'all. Peace out.
Love you.